So we got Jeff Gauthier with us today. Jeff is a longtime Milwaukee Fire Department firefighter, and you're getting pretty close to calling it a day.
Close to retirement.
So why don't you tell everyone who's listening and watching who Jeff Gauthier is?
I've been with the Milwaukee Fire Department for 22 years now. Been lieutenant with them for 13. And I've been afforded the opportunity through life before the fire department to be able to give back to in different places because of my sobriety. And because people a lot of years ago helped get me sober when I was going down a pretty bad path and I was given a second chance. So a lot of who I am is born out of a second chance and the opportunity to do something with it.
Awesome.
What made you want to become a firefighter?
I had been sober for a little bit and was overwhelmed with all the different possibilities that I had before me and was doing nothing. I was just stifled by that. And I was working a job that I liked but was dead end. And in the back of my mind was always, how do I give back? What can I do next? And every time that equation added up to firefighting. And rolled the dice, took a chance, and I'd say it worked out.
Awesome. And you've been doing it how long?
22 years.
22 years. Wow.
So you
go ahead.
You said every time you went back to it, it was firefighting. Why not law enforcement or the military or some other type of selfless service? Why do you think it was firefighting?
There was something about the draw of being able to do the medical side of it that I liked, but also that in my worldview at the time, what I saw was that was a group of individuals that were going in someplace where other people weren't, and that was attractive to me. Now, right, hindsight and meeting a bunch of people, there was all kinds of different ways to do it. That was one that just kind of kept popping up, and in all honesty, it seemed so completely unrealistic and unachievable. I thought, well, I got to go for it.
If you're a veteran or first responder who has found a way to heal through golf, or if you work at or own a golf course and would like to be featured on our show, please email me at joseph.melsack@hftr.us.
So this may be a shorter answer for you, but what's your experience and background with the game of golf?
Very, very minimal. Couple going to a golf outing with a group of firefighters and then going on a trip, and there was more drinking than there was golfing, so it wasn't really for me, but fell in love with the game. My wife bought me a set of clubs. They were stolen the next season, so grand total of maybe 4 or 5 games, and I've always loved it, but just never made the time to make it a passion.
So the camp that you came to last year was that your first real formal, a golf camp or lessons or all of that?
I took lessons once with a not so great instructor. I've learned now, right? That was more about him showing off how good a golfer he was than it was me actually learning. The camp was without a doubt my first camp, and the first time meeting people that took the time to kind of learn the way things moved and where you were at, and made it fun and approachable. I got to see immediate results. Oh, that works.
Since then, since the camp, how has your game? Have you stayed consistent with it? Have you worked on it a little bit, or?
We did the virtual golf this year, which is one of those things that I would have never ever done. But again, made the time, made a commitment to doing it, to getting better and getting out and just trying something different outside of my comfort zone. So I think that's helped. We had the opportunity to go on vacation, so we made it a point to golf on that vacation, which we didn't always do. And it was more just out, fun, swing, outside, and didn't care what the score was. If you got a couple of good shots, then that was a fun afternoon. So the camp made the game of golf much more approachable and much more fun to just go.
All right, one bonus question for the viewers and the listeners. If you could have one shot in golf that was consistently perfect, Like your drive, your putt, which would it be?
Oh, my putt. Yeah.
I understand the economy's crazy right now, but if you do have the means to help and you would like to help us expand beyond our current reach, please click the donate link down in the description box below. Thank you.
So 22 years as a firefighter. I'm sure there was some good, some bad. You want to reminisce on the last 22 as a firefighter? The highlights, lowlights?
You know that it's funny because I always tell guys that are new that are coming on, there's 3 days in my career that I didn't want to go to the firehouse. I think it's a pretty good law of averages, right? It's a pretty good run. Now those were some pretty crappy days, and there's some crappy things in between. But man, to get to do things and surround myself with, I've got an awesome crew right now, and I've had great crews coming up throughout my career that have taught me a lot, and I continue to learn because of the men and women that are surrounding me right now. But just having fun, you know, it's still fun. I still get to do something that most people don't get to do, and that's go into a burning building and figure out what's going on, and that's pretty cool. But the lowlights are there, and that fun comes with a price.
Yeah.
Would you, any chance you'd be, and I know a lot of people have trouble talking about some of the harder things in life, but you said there was 3 days that you didn't want to go in. Any chance you could elaborate?
So sure, because, and Matt knows a little bit about this, but a week ago I would have said no, you know, and you don't really need to go into specifics, but I told you were my first phone call when I completed my first EMDR, and I wouldn't have done that. I mean, I knew about it. I knew what it was. I knew that it was a possibility for me, and I was working with a therapist at the time.
And for those that don't know what EMDR is,
Eye mobilization desensitization, and I forget the R. But basically, you're given the opportunity with these paddles, buzzing, not electric shock therapy, right, to reprocess what the brain is doing through old trauma, and kind of reframe it, and then how do I rethink about what I did in that situation? Was it the best that I could do? And the particular fire was probably almost 15 years ago, and we lost 2 kids in the fire. It was a double fatal fire. And the interesting thing about the EMDR process was that through doing that with a culturally competent therapist, and I know that sounds like a buzzword, but like somebody that I completely and wholeheartedly trusted, and she gets firefighters and vets and police officers, and she walked me through it. And there was things that happened in that fire that I didn't realize happened until we started that process. And it took about 5 sessions to work through it. And I know now that I did everything I could to save those 2 kids. And we made 2 attempts at it where most companies wouldn't have made the one. But I held on to that for the better part of 10 years. I mean, I couldn't drive down the street because you know, I could smell it, I could hear it. Everything that was coming back that day would come flooding back. And I wouldn't talk about it. That was locked away. I didn't talk about it with my crew. I didn't talk about it with peer support. That went in a box and got locked away. But the crappy thing about those good days that I talk about, I believe, or at least for me, they became less good. I was trying to think of a better way to say that, you know, proper English. The potential for the good days to be good was lessened because that was a weight that I was carrying. And if you don't address those things, I learned for me anyway, if I don't address some of those things, then it's going to come out sideways in one form or another. And ultimately it did, you know, a couple of years ago. So the fatal fires and the kids, those are nasty. That's hard to take, especially when you do everything you can.
I can imagine.
And sometimes it just doesn't go your way.
Yeah, I mean, I look, anything to do with kids, I mean, they're so innocent, and I have 3 of my own, and they're still 6 or under, and just thinking about if anything were to happen to them.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, you know, the weight of that, especially when people look to you, you know, this is your
Yeah.
job, why didn't you do this? And and you question yourself, and you say, now you realize you did everything you could, but I'm sure for however long that period of time was, it just constantly is a rethought. Could I have done this? Could I have done that?
Right, and even when it's funny. So right, I wear whoop, and the first time we did it, now I'm shouting, so I don't take a breath. The first time we did that, my heart rate sitting in a clinician's office, completely trusting her, I went from 60 to 135. My heart rate doesn't get that high for fires anymore. It gets up. Usually I'm about 120 when the tones hit, or when we get going and we're working, then it's up there. I know to breathe, I know to relax. But so thinking back 10 years and being in that environment, putting myself there and hearing the things, but being okay hearing it. Like I said, a week ago, I would not have brought this up. I wouldn't have talked about it. And I wouldn't do it without knowing you. But
we really appreciate you sharing.
That's
I know it's hard to talk about it, and we're trying. It's kind of what this platform is, right? To accept that it's okay to talk about it. So thank you.
And I wish I wouldn't have held on to it for 10 years. I wish I wouldn't have held on to it for 10 years. I wish I wouldn't have held on to it for 10 years. You know, an EMDR wasn't, I don't know, right?
What he just said.
It was around, but it wasn't, like that particular fire, I was the team lead for our peer support team for that month. And I said, yeah, everybody's got it, everybody's good. I mean, I dropped the ball. You can't peer yourself. I needed to go get help for that. But it took me a long time to ask for it.
That's it for part 1 with Milwaukee firefighter Jeff Gauthier. I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you stay tuned for next week's part 2. Coming up right after this, we have a short clip of next week's preview. And make sure you hit the like and subscribe buttons below and follow us on Instagram. And we appreciate all you guys' support. Thank you and have a great day. Next time on Healing from the Rough.
Part of the reason that there's two things. I think, like, number one, I don't want to give that to you. When we talk about, hey, tell us about something that comes up, something that you held on to, those come back fast. And if you haven't dealt with them, they come back in a negative fashion.
You're going through those things. People don't necessarily have to be scared, right? Like, my traumas are mine, right? I wear them. I deal with them. I know how to deal with them. I've dealt with them for 15, 16 years. It's, don't be afraid. Just, for me, it's just let me be for a little bit, and we'll be fine. We'll be right back to normal.
And I didn't realize that was there until I went for a hike probably 6 months after camp. And meandering around, it took us to a golf course. And I stepped onto a golf course, and I was instantly at peace.
At the end here, we like to have a little bit of fun. Okay. So we got a 25-question speed round. Don't think too hard, right?
All right.
No answer's a dumb answer, right? So
firefighter on a truck, it's not.
Spit it out, all right? But Matt will go through them and just give us your answer.